Good morning students. Today we will start the chapter number 1, that is physical world, and it is basic to all the topics, and for examination a weightage only for 1 marks is there, and remaining this topic is the base of all the syllabus, and generally we have to study about the physical world. First we will start with the meaning of what is the meaning of a physical world. Physical world, it is indicating the meaning of this word is a real world. A real world. The meaning of physical world is a real world. A real world. It means that in reality we have to study about the properties of objects, how they existed, what they are, what they contain, how they brought into existence. Everything we have to study about the objects which are present in the nature. Physically we have to study about those things. Physically in the sense really in reality, by considering mass of those objects with respect of their physical properties. We have to study about the objects in the nature, called it as a physical world. Means in the real world we have to study object materials and their properties and their existence. The meaning of physical world is a real world. In reality, the meaning of this physical world we have to study. And here regarding objects, we have to study in the branch of physics, we are going to call it as a physical world. And next we need to know what you mean by science. This is also very important. What do you mean by science? In Latin language science is nothing but, in Latin language the meaning of science is, that is scientia. The meaning of science is, that is scientia. In which language? In Latin language. What is the meaning of scientia? The meaning of scientia, that is to understand. That is to understand. Or another meaning, to learn. To learn, and another meaning, to know. To know. All are same. In Latin, we are going to call it as a scientia. The meaning of scientia is to understand or to learn or to know. For example, since from many years, the man has been curious about many natural things, many natural phenomena. Since from many years, some phenomena in this nature, they are continuously observing or happening around him. For example, as you know very well, if I drop the marker, suddenly the marker is moving in downward direction, accelerating in downward direction. The man is continuously observing this phenomena. What is the reason behind this one? Why the marker is moving in downward direction? What is the reason? What is the cause? How it is happening? Why it is happening? Everything he is curious about to know this one. He is showing the curiosity how it is moving down, why it is moving down. To understand why it is moving down, he would like to learn why it is moving down. He wanted to know about it. This is continuously he is trying to know the fact behind this marker, why it is moving down. Getting? That is the meaning indicating as a scientia. For example, if you are looking towards the sky looking or appears as a blue, and why it is so far, why it is so. What is the reason behind this one? Why the sky appears like a blue color? What is the reason behind this one? How it is? Why it is? And continuously the man is curious to know about how the rainbow is existing in the sky. What is rainbow? Why it is? How it is? What are the colors they are belongs to the rainbow? What are the types of the rainbow? He is showing very curious about it to know. That's why the meaning of science is to understand. For example, the fan is rotating. What is the reason behind this one? That is electricity. The electric current, the current is nothing but that is a flow of electrons is called as a current. How the current is generating, how it is, why it is, and it is generating only in the metals, not in the wood, dry wood. Why it is so? What is the reason behind this one? Everything the man he is curious about to know it since from many years. That's why the word about the scientia meaning is to understand. Getting? And next we need to study about another word as physics. What do you mean by physics? The physics actually, this is the word derived from Greek word. The word is coming from Greek. In Greek, the physics meaning is physis. What is the meaning of physis? Physis meaning is nature. Nature. The man has been curious about many things which are happening in this nature. ಈ ನೇಚರ್ ಒಳಗಡೆ ಎಷ್ಟೋ ಫೆನಾಮಿನಾ ಅರೌಂಡ್ ನಡೀತಿರ್ತಾವ. ಅಂದರೆ ನೇಚರ್ ಒಳಗಡೆ ನಡೆಯುವಂಥ ಕೆಲವೊಂದು ಫೆನಾಮಿನಾ ಪ್ರೊಸೆಸ್ ಗೆಟಿಂಗ್ ಅಂದರೆ ನೇಚರ್ ಒಳಗಡೆ ನಡೆಯುವಂಥ ಪ್ರತಿಯೊಂದಕ್ಕೂ ರೀಸನ್ನನ್ನು ಅವನು ಏನು ಮಾಡ್ತಿದ್ದಾನೆ, ಎಷ್ಟೋ ವರ್ಷದಿಂದ ಸರ್ಚ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಿದ್ದಾನೆ, ರೀಸನನ್ನು ಸರ್ಚ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಿದ್ದಾನೆ. he is ಸರ್ಚಿಂಗ್ ರೀಸನ್ಸ್ ಹೌ ಇಟ್ ಈಸ್ ಹ್ಯಾಪನಿಂಗ್ ಇನ್ ದ ನೇಚರ್. ಗೆಟಿಂಗ್ the light is continuously coming from the sun, how it is, how come it is. He is trying to searching the reasons behind this one. That reason or that answer or that answer is given by the one of the science branch that is called as a physics. What do you mean by physics? The physics is nothing but it is a branch of science which gives the information about a natural phenomena which are happening around us. ನೇಚರ್ ಒಳಗಡೆ ನಡೆಯುವಂಥ ಪ್ರತಿಯೊಂದು ಗೆಟಿಂಗ್ ಫೆನಾಮಿನಾಗೆ ರೀಸನ್ನನ್ನು ಆನ್ಸರನ್ನು ಕೊಡುವಂಥ ಒಂದು ಸೈನ್ಸ್ದ ಬ್ರ್ಯಾಂಚಿಗೆ ಏನಂತಾರೆ, ದಟ್ ಈಸ್ ಅ ಫಿಸಿಕ್ಸ್. ದ ಫಿಸಿಕ್ಸ್ ಈಸ್ ದಟ್ ಈಸ್ ಅ ಬ್ರ್ಯಾಂಚ್ ಆಫ್ ಸೈನ್ಸ್ ವಿಚ್ ಡೀಲ್ಸ್ ವಿತ್ ದ ಸ್ಟಡಿ ಆಫ್ laws of nature, or it is deals with the study of the naturally happening phenomena in the nature. And very importantly, next we can study about a force. It is very important concept. Generally we can discuss about the force. What is a force? The force is nothing but push or pull on any object due to force the object can change its position or velocity, or velocity or its shape. Basically what you mean by a force is nothing but it is an external agency due to which when it is applying on any material or objects, because of that force the object can changes its velocity, or object can changes its velocity, shape or a position. Or it is a push or pull. You can pull it or you can push it. For example, this is a ball, and here is the person, he is standing, he would like to pull the ball in this direction, or he would like to push the ball in this direction, or he would like to bulge the ball by applying the force simultaneously on both the side. If he pull, the ball is moving in this direction. If he push, the ball is moving in this direction. Or if he pulled in both the direction, the dimension of or the shape of the ball changes. Everything, whatever it is, whether it is a position or it is a velocity or it is a shape, whatever it is the change for the body, that is because of the one of the external agency in the nature, calling it as force. As you know very well, the SI unit of force is Newton, that is named after the scientist. And one thing we have to study here, there are two major kind of the forces. One is a fundamental forces, and another one is and another one is derived forces. And another one is derived forces. Basically, these are two types of forces. Basics for science syllabus. And what are fundamental forces? Now we can go towards fundamental forces. What are fundamental forces? These are the fundamental forces which are happening naturally on their own. ಈ ನೇಚರ್ ಒಳಗಡೆ ತಾವಾಗಿಯೇ ಎಕ್ಸಿಸ್ಟ್ ಆಗುವಂಥ ಫೋರ್ಸು. On their own they have been existing in this nature, and these forces are not depending upon any other force. Themselves, they are happening in this universe wherever it is. These forces are called as a fundamental forces. First fundamental force is a gravitational force. Second fundamental force is a electromagnetic force. Third is weak nuclear force, and fourth one is a strong nuclear force. These are four basic forces or a fundamental forces: gravitational force, electromagnetic force, weak nuclear force or strong nuclear force. These are four fundamental forces. Except these four fundamental forces, all the forces are derived forces. What is fundamental forces? These are the forces which are happening in the nature on their own, and they are not depending upon any other forces. For example, we can discuss one by one what is gravitational force, electromagnetic force, weak nuclear force and strong nuclear force, and what are derived forces. Derived forces, for example, the meaning of derived forces are nothing but these are the forces which are not happening on their own in this nature. These forces are depending upon a fundamental forces, calling it as derived forces. For example, spring force is there, and spring force, and another example that is a normal force, or another example frictional force, or a tensional force, or a tensional force, or a normal force. Many forces, and except these four forces, whichever they are the forces, they are going to call it as derived forces. Just the difference between fundamental forces and derived forces, that is very simple. That is, a fundamental forces are nothing but these are the forces, they are happening in the nature on their own, and these forces are not depending upon any other forces. And derived forces means these forces we are going to derive by using fundamental forces. Derived forces, we are going to study these forces with the help of these forces. Therefore, these forces are not depending upon any force, and these forces are depending upon fundamental forces, and these forces are called as a fundamental forces, and these forces are called as a derived. And these forces are happening naturally in the nature, and these forces, they are not existing on their own. They are existing on their own in this nature, call it as a fundamental forces, and these forces, they are not existing on their own, they have depending upon the fundamental forces. Therefore, we are going to call it as a derived forces. And one by one we have to study regarding fundamental forces. One is a gravitational force. What is a gravitational force? It is the force between any two masses, a force between any two masses called it as gravitational force. For example, let us consider its mass is m1, it is an object, its mass is m2, and the separation between center of one object to center of another object, that is r, is equal to 1 meter. This is a first object, it is a second object, its mass is m1, that is equal to 1 kg, and it is another object, its mass is equal to 1 kg, and separation between first object and second object, that is r, is equal to 1 meter. And what is the force of attraction between these two? That is nothing but gravitational forces. If you keep two objects having a mass is equal to 1 kg each and a separation is equal to 1 meter, then after some years these two objects, they are coming in contact without any help, why they are coming in contact after some years? Because in between those two there has been a force of attraction. The force of attraction is called as a gravitational force, or the force of attraction between Earth and Moon. The Earth and Moon. This is a Moon, this is the Earth. The distance between these two, that is r is equal to 1.5 into 10 to the power of 8 kilometer is there, and continuously the Moon is revolving around the Earth. What is the reason behind this one? Because the Moon is continuously coming under the influence of gravitational force given by this Earth, and Earth and Moon, in between those two the distance is, that is r is equal to 1.5 into 10 to the power of 8 kilometer. And as you know very well, the Moon is continuously revolving around the Earth. What is the reason? Because of gravitational force. Earth is also having mass and Moon is also having mass, and if there is no gravitational force of attraction between Earth and Moon, then what is happening? The Moon could have been fallen back somewhere, and the Moon is not falling back, instead it is continuously revolving around the Earth. What is the reason behind this one? In between those two there is a force of attraction. That force of attraction is called as a gravitational force. And you have a doubt, what is that one? If there is no gravitational force of attraction between Earth and Moon, and what will happen? The Moon would have been fallen back somewhere, and it is not falling back somewhere, it is continuously revolving. Then what is the reason? The gravitational force of attraction. And in the nature, the gravitational force is very weakest force. The gravitational force is very weakest force. How come it is a weakest force? For example, let us consider any two bodies. Mass is equal to 1 kg, mass is equal to 1 kg. The distance between center of this body to center of this body, that is r is equal to 1 meter. And if these two bodies suddenly they are not coming in contact, you have to wait some years. For example, keep two bodies and wait some 50 years or 60 years. After 60 or 50 years, if you come and see this situation, these two bodies are coming in contact physically. What is the reason? That is nothing but the gravitational force of attraction between these two is very weak force. ಎರಡು ಆಬ್ಜೆಕ್ಟ್ ಅನ್ನ ಇಟ್ಟಾಗ ಸಡನ್ಲಿ ಎರಡೂದರ ನಡುವೆ ಇರುವಂತ ಗ್ರಾವಿಟೇಷನಲ್ ಫೋರ್ಸ್ ದಟ್ ಈಸ್ ವೆರಿ ವೀಕೆಸ್ಟ್ ಫೋರ್ಸ್. ಇವೆರಡೂ ಬಾಡಿ ಕಾಂಟ್ಯಾಕ್ಟ್ ಒಳಗಡೆ ಬರಬೇಕಂದ್ರೆ ಅಟ್ ಲೀಸ್ಟ್ ವಿ ಹ್ಯಾವ್ ಟು ವೇಟ್ ಅಪ್ ಟು 70 or 80 years. Then only the body they are coming physically in contact. That's why the force of attraction between bodies is that is very weakest. Therefore, the gravitational force in this nature is very weakest force. And second goes to that is electromagnetic force. Electromagnetic force, a force due to electrical field. Force due to electrical field and magnetical field. And magnetical field is called as electromagnetic force, and it is the force between any two charges. Any two charges is called as due to electric field and magnetical field is called as electromagnetic forces. That force of attraction between proton and electron, that is in presence of electrical field and magnetical field, that is the electromagnetic force. Because of this force, the particle can attract, or the particles can repel, or the particle can accelerate. Because of electrical field and because of magnetical field, all the charges they can attract with each other, or all the charges they can repel with each other, or all the charges they can accelerate, means they can move in presence of these two fields. Any situation can happen. Electromagnetic force, these are the force this is existing between charged particles. Between the charged particles there has been a force of attraction or repulsion because of electrical field and magnetical field. That force is called as electromagnetic force, and this is happening just in between the charged particles. What are the charged particles? Proton and electron, but not a neutron, because the charge of the neutron is 0. And go to next one, weak nuclear and strong nuclear. weak nuclear and strong nuclear. Before going to weak nuclear and strong nuclear, what is nuclear force? The nuclear force is nothing but nuclear force is the force. Nuclear force is the force of attraction, is the force between nucleons called nuclear force. And one thing, what are nucleons? Nucleons are nothing but whether protons or neutrons. Protons and neutrons are called as nucleons. For example, this is a neutron, this is a nucleus, this is a nucleus. Here one proton is there, this is a neutron, this is a proton, this is a neutron, this is a proton, this is a neutron, proton, neutron, proton, neutron. Many particles are there. The particles present in the nucleus, calling it as nucleons. Electron is not a nucleon. Which are nucleons? The proton and neutron, we are going to call it as a nucleons. Here proton is there, here proton is there. In between there is a force. That force we are going to call it as nuclear force. Or this is a neutron, this is also a neutron. In between these two neutron there is a force is there. This force we are going to call it as nuclear force. This is proton, this is proton, this is neutron, this is neutron, or this is neutron and this is proton. In between these two particles there has been a force of attraction is there. That force we are going to call it as nuclear force. Whether it is a proton or it is a neutron or it is a neutron proton, whatever they are the particle, proton, in between force is there, that force is nuclear force. Neutron, in between there has been a force, we are going to call it as a nuclear force. Or a neutron, proton, in between the force is there, that is called as a nuclear force. The nuclear force is not depending upon charges of the particle. It is a charge independent. It is charge independent. It means that the nuclear force is not depending upon charges. Whether it is having a charge or it is not having a charge, that is not a matter. Whether the nuclear force is not depends upon the charge of the particle. It means that it is a charge independent. But while coming to the electromagnetic force, it is depending upon charges. In between charged particles, the force is called as, that is electromagnetic force. In between masses, the force is called as a gravitational force. But in between just nucleons, whether that is having a charge or not having a charge, that is not the matter. That is, in between nucleons there has been a force in this nature. That force is called as a nuclear force, and it is very strong force in this nature. If you compare nuclear force with gravitational force, if you compare nuclear force with gravitational force, 10 to the power of 38 times the nuclear force is greater than that of the gravitational force. It is very weakest force, it is very strongest force. If you compare the nuclear force and gravitational force, the nuclear force, it is how many times greater than or stronger than that of the gravitational force? 10 to the power of 38. It means that it is very large number. 10 to the power 38 in the sense you have to write in terms of number 1 after you have to write 38 zeros. The nuclear force is how much times greater than that of the gravitational force? 10 to the power of 38 times. And if you compare nuclear force with that of the electromagnetic force, the nuclear force is how many times greater than that of the electromagnetic force? That is around 100 times greater. If you compare nuclear force and gravitational force, the nuclear force is stronger than gravitational force with how many times? 10 to the power of 38. Here if you compare the nuclear force with electromagnetic force, the nuclear force, it is around 100 times greater than that of the electromagnetic force. The final conclusion is that only in nature ಒಳಗಡೆ ಯಾವುದೇ force ಇರಲಿ, that is not stronger than nuclear force. As you know very well, what is the working principle of atom bomb? the atom bomb that is working on the principle of this nuclear force, means nuclear fission reaction. Getting? In this nature, which force is stronger? Nuclear force is stronger. Which force is weakest force? This is weakest and very strong force, that is called as nuclear force. There has been a question for you. It is possible. Mention the which force in this nature is very strongest. Your answer is nuclear force. And what is the weakest force in the nature? That is the gravitational force. In between the masses, the gravitational force is there. In between the charged particles, electromagnetic force is there. In between the nucleons, what are nucleons? Proton and neutron. In between the nucleons, which force is there? That is nuclear force is there. These are called as fundamental forces. And derived forces means these are examples for derived forces. And you are going to study about derived forces in the concepts. And these are not directly happening in the nature. We are going to study these forces by taking the help of these forces. That's why these are fundamental or basic. These are not basic because they are depending upon all these forces. And this is about forces. And in this topic, next we have to study about, that is, some many other scientists are there and what they discovered, what is their contribution, that is also important. Let us move, that is discoveries and their contribution and what they discovered, that one we can see now. And go to first some contributions given by many other scientists. And first we'll start question 1. Who is the father of physics? Generally we are going to call it as Newton, because his contribution is more in all the fields of science. That's why the father of physics is, that is Isaac Newton. Because why we are going to consider he is the father of science? Because he given lot of contributions to the field of science. That's why the father of science, that is Newton. And go to first question. Basically I am going, who discovered, that is electron. The electron, its charge is equal to minus 1.6. Its charge is equal to that is minus 1.6 into 10 to the power of minus 19 coulomb. And its mass is equal to 1.9.1 into 10 to the power of minus 31 kg. And who discovered this one? J.J. Thomson. J.J. Thomson, you have to remember, this is very important for your second year syllabus. As you know very well, the first one is the electron. It is a negatively charged elementary particle. Its charge is equal to minus 1.6 into 10 to the power minus 19 coulomb. Mass is equal to this much. And who discovered this one? J.J. Thomson. And second one, go to, that is positron, indicated as E plus. Positron, its charge is equal to, that is a positive, that is equal to plus 1.6 into 10 to the power of minus 19 coulomb. And its mass is equal to, that is same as that of the electron, 9.1 into 10 to the power of minus 31 kg. And who discovered the positron? That is Anderson. Anderson, he is a name of the scientist. He discovered a elementary particle having a positive charge, called it as positron. Negative charge particle is called as an electron. Positively charged particle is called as a positron. Mass exactly same. Electron discovered by J.J. Thomson and positron discovered by Anderson. Everything is same, but only the charge of these two particles is different. The electron charge is negative and positron charge is positive. That's only. And what is the definition of positron? The positively charged electron is called as positron. And go to next, that is who discovered proton. The proton is discovered, that is first, what is the charge? Its charge is equal to, that is plus 1.6. 1.6 into 10 to the power minus 19 coulomb. Its mass is equal to, that is 1.672 into 10 to the power of minus 27 kg, and the proton is discovered by a scientist called Ernest Rutherford. You please remember Ernest Rutherford. And go to next particle, that is fourth one, neutron. The neutron is chargeless, it is not having any charge, and its mass is equal to slightly greater than that of the proton, 1.674 into 10 to the power of minus 27 kg, that is almost as that of the proton. The proton is 1.672 its mass, its charge, but neutron is not having any charge, that's why I written here a chargeless, and mass is slightly greater than that of the proton. How much? 1.674 into 10 to the power minus 27 kg, and that is discovered by the scientist called as James Chadwick. James Chadwick, the neutron particle is discovered. And next we can move towards a concept of buoyancy or gravitational universal law of gravity. Universal law of gravitation. This concept is given by, the gravity as a concept is given by, means in this nature the G value is constant, that is capital G. The universal law of gravitation, that is a concept, is given by Isaac Newton. And the formula is F is equal to G m1 m2 divided by r square. Let us take it is one object, it is another object, in distance between these two is r, that is r square. Mass of first object m1, mass of second object is m2, and G is constant. Its value is 6.672 into 10 to the power of minus 11 Newton per meter square per kg square. And go to some other example, that is concept of buoyancy. What do you mean by buoyancy? As you know very well, many objects, they are able to float on the surface of the water. What is the reason behind this one? That is a normal force exerted by water particles in upward direction on the object. Because of that one, that force we are going to call it as a buoyant force. Many objects, they have floating on the water surface. What is the reason behind this one? That force is called as a buoyant force. The concept is explained by the mathematician called as Archimedes. And you studied in the topic as mechanical properties of fluids regarding Archimedes Principle. For example, that is a tube is floating on the water. In the swimming pool, you might have seen many times a tube is floating on the water. What is the reason? Why it is not sinking down in the depth of the water? That is the reason there has been a buoyant force exerting by the water particles on the tube, due to which that tube is floating on the water. That the concept of buoyancy is discovered by or explained by the scientist or a mathematician called as Archimedes. And take another, the concept of, that is uplift of aeroplane. Uplift of aircraft or aeroplane. As you know very well, the working mechanism of the aeroplane. The aeroplane is moving in the space, and who is responsible to lift the aeroplane? That is the air particles, as you know very well. That concept is given by a scientist called as a Bernoulli Theorem, or a scientist named Bernoulli. He is given the explanation for that. Why the ball is moving in the air, and how the aeroplane is lifting, and who give the support it to the motion. Without any support, the aeroplane is moving in the space. Who is the reason for that? The fluid particles or air particles are responsible for that. The force given by the air particles for the motion of the aeroplane, that concept we are going to call it as a uplift of aeroplane. The concept is explained by the another scientist called as a Bernoulli. And next we can study who discovered X-ray. The X-ray, as you know very well, many other electromagnetic radiations are there. From the sun we are getting X-ray, gamma ray, and ultraviolet UV light, visible light, and invisible you know very well again. 7 violet, indigo, blue light, green light, yellow light, orange light, and last one is red light. And this is the spectrum of, this is first one, second one, 3, this is 4, and in visible region again 7 VIBGYOR colors are there, and 5th one infra radiation, 6th one micro radiation, and 7th one radio wave. These are all electromagnetic radiation. And among one X-ray is nothing but, this is we are going to heard many times, we are going in hospitalization, in the hospital to scan the body and to locate the fracture, location of the fracture inside the bone, that can be finding by using the mechanism that is called as a X-ray. And the X-rays are identified by the scientist called as Wilhelm Röntgen. And next go to some other concepts, that is next X-ray, electromagnetic waves. Electromagnetic waves, what is the meaning of electromagnetic waves? All the waves that what I have written here, these are all are electromagnetic waves. What is electro? Electro means electrical field. And what is magnetic? Magnetic means magnetical field. These all the radiation consist of electrical field and magnetical field. With the support of electrical field and magnetical field, all the lights, they are able to move in the space. That's why these all radiations we are going to call it as electromagnetic waves. And electromagnetic waves can be discovered by the scientist called as, that is James Clerk Maxwell. And we can study about the electromagnetic waves in the second year topic called as electromagnetic waves. And go to next concept, photoelectric effect. What is photoelectric effect? As you know very well, let us take one of the metal. Inside the metal many electrons are there, and take a light and allow to light falling on the metal surface. When the light is incident on the metal surface, suddenly electrons are emitting out of the metal. This process we are going to call it as photoelectric effect. When the light is falling on the metal, the electrons are emitting, are coming out of the metal. This process of emission of electrons from the surface of the metal, we are going to call it as photoelectric effect. And this process is discovered by Einstein. This process is discovered by or find out obtained by, that is Albert Einstein. And next one is nuclear fission reaction. Nuclear fission. What is nuclear fission? One heavy nucleus is going under splitting. What is the meaning of heavy nucleus? Which nucleus having a higher mass, that nucleus we are going to call it as a heavy nucleus. When one neutron is hitting the heavy nucleus, suddenly this heavy nucleus is splitting into, that is another nuclei. For example, let us take a uranium as an example. When one slow neutron hitting the uranium, this uranium nucleus is breaking and produces a barium nucleus and krypton nucleus along with a large amount of energy. This process of splitting of heavy nucleus is called as a nuclear fission, and this process is discovered by 3 contribution of scientists are there. The one is a Hahn, another one is a Meitner, and a Strassmann. These are 3 scientists' name we are going to take now here, because the nuclear fission phenomena, the contribution is given by all these scientists. One is a Hahn, another one is a Meitner, and another one is a Strassmann. Nuclear fission. What is nuclear fission? When slow neutron hitting a heavy nucleus, then that nucleus is getting splitting. Therefore, that breaking or splitting of heavy nucleus is called as a nuclear fission. That process is discovered by these 3 respective scientists. And one is a nuclear reactor. Next one is a nuclear reactor. What is a nuclear reactor? A nuclear reactor is a device. A nuclear reactor is a device. By using that device, we are going to convert nuclear energy into electrical energy. Nuclear energy into electrical energy. ಈ ಡಿವೈಸನ್ನು ಯೂಸ್ ಮಾಡಿಕೊಂಡು ನ್ಯೂಕ್ಲಿಯರ್ ಎನರ್ಜಿನ ಎಲೆಕ್ಟ್ರಿಕಲ್ ಎನರ್ಜಿಯಾಗಿ ಕನ್ವರ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡ್ಬೋದು. ದ್ಯಾಟ್ ಡಿವೈಸ್ ವಿ ಆರ್ ಗೋಯಿಂಗ್ ಟು ಕಾಲ್ ಇಟ್ ಆಸ್ ಅ nuclear reactor. It is working on the principle of nuclear fission. What is nuclear reactor? Nuclear reactor is a device. By using that device, we are going to convert nuclear energy into electrical energy. And this nuclear reactor is discovered by a scientist called as Enrico Fermi. Enrico Fermi, he is the scientist. He discovered a nuclear reactor. By using this reactor, we are going to convert nuclear energy into electrical energy. And here, last point I am discussing in the topic, there is a domain called as microscopic domain. What is a microscopic domain? It is the range or a scale. It is a scale in which we are going to study about particles like proton, neutron, electron, etc. What is a microscopic domain? It is a scale or it is a branch in which we are going to study about particles which are having very negligible mass. For example, proton, neutron, electron. That domain is called as a microscopic domain. And another one is a macroscopic. What is a macroscopic domain? Macroscopic domain is nothing but it is the range of scale in which we are going to study about the objects which are having a larger size. ಒಂದು ವೇಳೆ ಆಬ್ಜೆಕ್ಟ್ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಪಾರ್ಟಿಕಲ್ಸ್ ಮಾಸ್ ನೆಗ್ಲಿಜಿಬಲ್ ಇತ್ತಂದ್ರೆ ಸ್ಟಡಿ ಮಾಡುವಂಥ ಡೊಮೈನಿಗೆ ಮೈಕ್ರೋಸ್ಕೋಪಿಕ್ ಡೊಮೈನ್ ಅನ್ಬೇಕಾ. ಇಫ್ ದ ಸೈಜ್ ಆಫ್ ದ ಆಬ್ಜೆಕ್ಟ್ ಈಸ್ ಲಾರ್ಜರ್ ದೆನ್ ದಟ್ ಡೊಮೈನ್ ಯು ಗೋಯಿಂಗ್ ಟು ಕಾಲ್ ಇಟ್ ಆಸ್ ಅ ಮ್ಯಾಕ್ರೋಸ್ಕೋಪಿಕ್. ಅಂಡ್ ದ ಲಾಸ್ಟ್ ಒನ್ ಈಸ್ ಅ ಮೆಸೋಸ್ಕೋಪಿಕ್. What is a mesoscopic domain? It is a domain or the range or the scale in which we are going to study about the objects which are having a moderate mass or a normal mass. Normal objects or moderate masses, moderate in size. ಮಾಸ್ ಜಾಸ್ತಿ ಇತ್ತಂದ್ರೆ ಅದ್ರ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ಸ್ಟಡಿ ಮಾಡುವಂಥ ರೇಂಜಿಗೆ ಏನಂತಾರ ಮ್ಯಾಕ್ರೋಸ್ಕೋಪಿಕ್ ಡೊಮೈನ್. ನೆಗ್ಲಿಜಿಬಲ್ ಮಾಸ್ ಇತ್ತಂದ್ರೆ ದಟ್ ಡೊಮೈನ್ ಈಸ್ ಕಾಲ್ಡ್ ಆಸ್ ಅ ಮೈಕ್ರೋಸ್ಕೋಪಿಕ್. ಆರ್ ನಾರ್ಮಲ್ ಮಾಸ್ ಇತ್ತಂದ್ರೆ ವಿ ಕ್ಯಾನ್ ಕಾಲ್ ಇಟ್ ಆಸ್ mesoscopic. It is all regarding about the first topic and some general discussion we have discussed now. First one is meaning of physical world. Second one is meaning of science, meaning of physics, and what are fundamental forces, what are derived forces, and the contribution given by many scientists coming under the field of science. That is some contribution I have discussed. And you please go through the video as well as and remember the concept that what we have discussed here, and thank you.